How's it going, guys? It's Mr. Lone Wolf, and yeah, today finally I can get to my part 2 of Sunken, I suppose. So I was kind of picking up where I left off. I just finished delivering all the pump parts off the boat onto the dock. I thought for a second I might need my Zix to load them onto, but I didn't. So the next mission was to build 2 roads going along here, which helps an AI route get to where it's going. But it says you need a quarry, but the quarry is currently inactive. Inactive quarries require fuel to start functioning again. When I go across to the sand menu, you can see like there's a big grey circle and it should be yellow. It says there, press triangle to activate quarry. And I wasn't sure at this point if it was going to be like, I don't know, a mission, but it just says press triangle to activate. I apologise, I seem to have cut out the bit where I actually pressed triangle. But it just cost me 3 fuel, and then the circle turned yellow and I was able to carry on. I had the loaf just down the road, so just where you've seen the loaf footage set off, I was just behind, like my Zix 605E was just behind, sort of off camera. So, get to this first road planning request thing, recall everything with a loaf. One thing, it's not bad, but I just didn't even think about it until I spawned them. Now I've bought the bowhead, it offered me that first. I could have gone through the menu and scrolled back over to just the normal Taiga dump truck, but yeah, I wasn't fussed. Either way, it's an AI road, it's going to lay its own sand and all the rest of it, so it doesn't really make any difference whether I had the Taiga or the bowhead. And yeah, started setting them off on like their auto route. There's a little look of it doing its AI thing. Again, like it just does one load of sand, it doesn't seem to run out, it just constantly goes, so that was all going pretty well. Sent the dozer and the paver, sent the bowhead back this way, because yeah, it's gathers like double wide roads, and I'll show you, like it looks like 2 separate roads when you're laying them, but when you finish they all sort of meet back up. I'd also already set the paver on the way, so yeah, it's pretty handy. Like you can take as much time as you want really. If you wanted to sit here for an hour, or yeah, probably an hour, like messing around, maybe not even that, laying the roads yourself, or you can just set the AI off. And yeah, I've kind of got them going both ways. And then after the rollers finish this second one, as you'll see, I was ready to just run a line of sand down the middle basically, smooth it out with a dozer, pave it, and I'd end up, I think, with this anyway, roughly speaking. But yeah, it kind of, as it's a mission I suppose, it just kind of counts it as all one giant fat road. So down to the next road, and this is where I ended up having a couple of issues, partly my own fault, but also not completely. So, I set the bulldozer off, and that's already gone. In the meantime, I went and drove the dozer down there. Oh, sorry, I set the bowhead off. Drove the dozer down. The paver and the roller I was going to transport with the Zix. However, I noticed that these weren't moving. So when I came back, they've basically blocked each other. The first road wasn't too bad because it was a fairly straight path, but obviously this is like an S-bend in the road. Yeah, they're blocking each other's path, and in hindsight I would have picked the dozer, but you can see it says press square to cancel road, and it just resets the vehicle back to like the square it's set off from, so nothing too major. I just reset it so that the dozer could carry on, and I'd start the bowhead again, didn't really think too much of it. But you can see, one issue with this bowhead, yeah, it really doesn't have very good ground clearance. And on top of that, I mean, at the minute it's leaning on the sand, and it's not too bad because the AI is just kind of drawing the sand where it needs to be. But it starts getting beached, and I mean, at the minute it's the AI driving it, so I don't really have any control or say. But partly to do with its, like, the way it steers is driving each individual track. It sometimes doesn't drive the right track. I thought I'd take my chances and reset the game just to see how that worked. It started when the bowhead was already on the way and I hadn't quite driven the bulldozer over yet. You can see that little gap in the sand there. That must be like literally where the game loaded up, and for some reason, just for a second or so, it wasn't dumping the sand. So I thought, oh well, I'll go back in the bowhead and tell it to set off again, so it just, as long as it fills that little gap. That's what she said. I wasn't really bothered if it got stuck a bit later on, because I'd just cancelled the road at that point. However, it managed to get stuck here before I even managed to patch this little bit up. And you can see, it's trying to turn left, so it's driving the right track. And it's not driving the left track. But the left track is the only one with grip, the right track is in the air. And even if you're driving it yourself, sometimes you're trying to steer, and obviously like only one track has got grip and whatnot, and because it stops driving one track, sometimes you don't have any power. So one nice thing about this though, you can turn it sideways. So I just drove along, filled the little patch that I needed in myself, and then it kind of, you can see 2 yellow lines running along the side of the road, and once it was filled enough, it just counts it as like, yeah, it's ready to smooth out with the dozer basically. So yeah, even though it's not far down the road, the paver and the roller are pretty bloody slow. Certainly the rusty versions. I've not bought the non-rusty versions yet, but funnily enough, earlier I did buy the non-rusty version of the dozer, and yeah, it's quite nice. It picks up to speed quicker. It seems to turn more, not abruptly, but the steering's, I don't know, it's almost more confident. Didn't get used to it for a second because I was used to kind of waiting for a slight delay with a rusty one. Yeah, and as I've recently unlocked this Zix 605E, kind of figured it's a perfect chance to just drive this down here, load these two up. You can't strap them down, but they, to be fair, vehicles for the most part seem, unless you're doing some serious off-road rallying, they seem to just stay on the trailer, so it's not really an issue. Yeah, and you can see my bowhead thing up ahead. I'm just heading to the second road. I cut a bit out. It's because I entered the menu before I got there with a Zix, so it was a little bit scruffy with the footage. But long story short, dropped them off, paved the road, and it, yeah, completed again. For what it's worth, by the way, I loaded the roller on first, even though that'd be the last vehicle I needed, because I figured I'll then load the paver off first, and then whilst the paver's doing its AI thing, I'll get the roller off. So, got that complete. The next part of that mission was to draw an AI route down to a workshop in the corner. I'm not moaning like as in I dislike this truck. Well, I do dislike the truck, but I don't think it's bad for the game or on their part. It's the crappy truck that's only got rear wheel drive. So yeah, the road was probably well needed because it probably wouldn't have made it without it. For what it's worth as well, I unlocked this. I can't remember what it's called now off the top of my head. It holds 40 tons of sand though, which is supposedly twice as much as the bowhead. So for those of you that can't get the bowhead, on Sunken you're going to unlock this, and yeah, in theory this could refill the Taiga dump truck 4 times, whereas the bowhead can only do it twice. And it's got pretty big wheels. I had a little drive around with it, but not much. Anyway, next mission, there I was at the road. Here's like, you can see my vehicles just to the left. The mission was, it was saying basically, drive up to the top of the mountain. There doesn't seem too much point behind it, strictly speaking, but it's basically saying you'll have a good vantage point from the top of the mountain, overlooking where you need to build a bridge, and then it's also going to tell me I need to head north on the island, or this whole map really, but I can't go there until I cross the bridge. So yeah, for this one, I sent in the goddamn professional, and funnily enough, this ends up being I don't know, kind of what caused it all really, because the game tells you to go up to the top of the mountain. I sent the loaf, which is a recall vehicle, and I believe it was like yesterday, whilst I was having something to eat, I think I was just flicking through the recall menu, not even thinking anything of it. I didn't even realise that I'd caused a glitch. And then I went and finished the mission, like building the bridge and all the rest of it. And yeah, it was then in the end when I was quitting the game, I just quickly scanned over my map and realised I'd spawned loads of forwarders and Taigas and step pikes. Yeah, all you got to do though is drive to the top of this mountain. Objective complete. Explore. Summon outskirts of the flooded village. Yeah, you'll definitely need a bridge. And there's already like either end of the bridge there. It also says goal complete. It's not the whole map done. You'll see when there's like a green bar and it's split into 3. I believe I've done the first third. So Kelly pops up basically just saying, good, you need to build a bridge, we've sent you some concrete designs. And yeah, you can see there's a big white circle, it's the salt mine it wants me to look at. There's a mountain base. I just drove in there with a Land Rover and it unlocked it. I don't even know if it took any supplies off me, but if it did, it couldn't have been many, because I haven't really got many. Yeah, but this is the part where you need to build a bridge. Again, Kelly said they've sent you some bridge designs. You basically got bridges unlocked at this point. I chose a wide concrete one, laid it over there, seemed to fill the gap pretty nicely, and it's saying it needs 8 concrete slabs. For some reason, I had in my head for a while that it was 9. But anyway, I can collect some concrete slabs from my river base, or I can build some at the concrete plant. I haven't got enough anyway, so I'm going to at least need to build some. By chance, the mule was already outside the concrete plant because I'd taken the fuel tank there. By the way, this was just a quick look panning around. Was it this bit at some point? Yeah, I went to the start menu and then back out. Within about 10-15 seconds, it had gone from pissing down to rain to like a sunny day. The weather changes pretty damn rapidly on this game. Yeah, the mule was already at the concrete plant, so I just scavenged a load of the stuff that was scattered around. As well, even though there's just been normal concrete up until now, you've got like a concrete pipe. That's either like an anti-tank thing or like what they sort of line up on beaches as a bit of a wave breaker. Cached all these slabs in. It actually gave me enough for 7 slabs, which is pretty decent and generous. I hope they don't lower the amount, but it's not bad with these slabs. That big wave breaker thing, whatever it is, that gave me exactly 2, and then there was like a concrete pole thing that gave me exactly 1. Now I loaded 7 up and I started driving off. I was going to go and buy one from the construction plant. But then as I went to set off, my truck did a wheelie, and I figured it'd kind of be a good idea to demonstrate. Put a few slabs, like whatever load you're taking, put a few slabs on your roof so it's not just completely wonky and like you're wheeling because 95% of the weight's over the rear wheel. It's obviously still bottoming out the suspension, so I'm not going rapidly or anything. But it's way more controllable. Yeah, it's not trying to wheelie. Every time you accelerate, you sort of lose steering ability because your wheels are off the ground. To be honest, if you put 3 slabs on the roof, the crane would fold down enough to pinch them against the roof. It just so happens like 2 slabs are just a little bit narrower than like the gap between the crane and the roof of the truck. So as you can see, they're a little bit loose. They've started slipping over to the left, but I didn't have to go too far anyway, so I figured I'd just drop the hammer and make it. I mean, again, you'd have to do some pretty hardcore rallying to actually shake them off the roof at that point. Even the stuff that's strapped in, when you get here, it takes them all. Yeah, for whatever reason, I had it briefly in my head I needed 9, so I brought 1 extra, and as soon as I delivered them, I even said to myself, like, oh yeah, it was 8. I was initially going to just throw the slab overboard next to this bridge, and then I kind of figured, well, I've got to drive north and look at this salt mine. I may as well just take the slab with me on the... Not that I think I'd need it now, but I kind of figured I'd probably need it more north on the map than I'm going to need it just thrown next to the bridge I've already built. So, yeah. There's me loaf in the background on the mountain. Goddamn professional. He is the one that's responsible for spawning and duplicating all kinds of vehicles. At the end of this video, it's only probably like a minute long, maybe if that. I had one more go with a glitch to try and spawn a bowhead, and I'll show you towards the end. Again, I only left in a little bit. This is the mission I'm going to do. Basically, she's saying there's blueprints that only exist in paper form in a safe in this part of the village called like Moriartyville or whatever it was, and you've got to go and get it. So you basically got to retrieve a safe. But the reason why is now I'm getting onto this part of the island. It's popping up loads more missions, so she just keeps popping up every 30 seconds, like explaining kind of the context to a different mission. She's also saying there's various mines I've got to explore, either for scrap metal I think it was, or just if I like spooky abandoned mines, which sounds pretty cool. Not got to that part yet, but I will do. So yeah, the mission I'm going for, was it? Oh, Montyville. Retrieve the Montyville archive and return it to the administration. So this is basically where I finished the video yesterday. This is like minutes before I realised I'd caused some kind of glitch. I can't even remember why I decided to climb up that, but I did. This is now post-glitch, so this was after I bought the mule back, drove it back to there to keep track of my original mule. You can see loads of extra vehicles across the map. 4 of those markers are for abandoned mines. One of them was to search a castle, which I assume was one of the things in the loading screen thumbnail at some point. Yeah, this says, bad news, all the construction blueprints are still in paper form, housed in the archive. The collection is vital for our rebuilding work. Your objective is clear, find the archive, save what you can, deliver it to Montyville administration. The success of our reconstruction efforts depend on it. So I've drawn a little mark. There was actually a fatter road. I nearly went off, kind of what I was demonstrating with the camera, going off on some narrower roads, but then I found, like, you see where I put my green marker in the distance? Yeah, it's more of a main road. And I kind of knew, with most vehicles, I'd lap around this flooded section, but the mule is actually pretty cool, as in the air intake is basically at the top back of the cab, so it can actually go pretty deep. I know that's what she said. So I decided to purposely cut it through the water. And again, like, I don't like the lack of speed, really, the lack of how it gets up to speed, and I think it could do with more torque once it's up to speed. But apart from that, driving this does feel really nice. Again, the physics, they've nailed it pretty well in the game. Even going at this slow speed, just the way the vehicle kind of rocks around and you can feel its weight having an influence on the suspension and the grip and all the rest of it. I think I went down to low range, which seems fairly fleshed out. Like, it's not on and off. Like, SnowRunner was kind of like, oh, any mud that's beyond basic mud gets you stuck until you go in the low range to a degree. Not always, but this game feels a little bit more fluid and nuanced, where you're not necessarily stuck without low range, but it does appear to offer like an objective advantage without feeling like you've just hit the easy button or something. Yeah, driving north, kind of roughly know I've got to go over there. See, even just quickly checking the map, now I've got to go all through the bloody gears again in the mule. I am missing my high range gear, I'm not going to lie. Some of the other missions, it basically by now it's brought up 4 main missions for me and 3 side missions, I believe. One of the missions is that building thing you could see to the left of me. I'm assuming it's going to want me to bring power from there back near the mine I just drove from. However, I'm off to search for this safe. So yeah, I've got to explore this like old town, village, whatever, that's been smashed by, I can't remember if it was an earthquake or a hurricane or both. But whatever it is, the houses ain't looking too good. Something bad happened here. Like Godzilla turned up. You can actually see in the top left on a building, you can actually see the safe in the top corner. Yeah, it's a bit like a spoiler, I'm showing the video anyway. I've got to find, like, there's blueprints in a safe. So, I don't really mind it, but what I tend to find with this game, I drove here with a mule because I figured if I come with a scout, I'm going to need to pick something up and I'll have to come back with a mule. But then when I got there with a mule, it said I'm in the search area, so I thought, now I've got to come back with a Hummer and start scanning. The reason I brought the Hummer is apparently it's got a bigger scan radius than the Land Rover, but other than that, I have no doubt the Land Rover would have got here just fine. I had zero idea where the safe was or anything. I kind of got lucky on this one, because on Incommunicado, I was driving around for bloody ages scanning, but yeah, I found it pretty quick with the Hummer. And yeah, it's a safe on top of those buildings. You can already see like a bit of a ramp going up to it. I already had a bit of an idea that it was going to be, yeah, where you sort of drive in like up a ramp, got to drop a drawbridge, that kind of thing. I ended up doing a massive lap with the mule. I keep nearly calling it the dolphin. I ended up basically, you can see where my Hummer is. I ended up along this grass verge where I was parked just down at the bottom before. There is a way just to drive up from the road on this grass verge, and it would have saved me a lot of time. But yeah, you can see it's a little bit like a puzzle section of the game where you've got to figure out, you know, which ramp do I go up and all sorts. So I had the genius idea of parking the mule at the bottom, and I was going to try and drop the safe into the mule. Now, I'm in the Hummer. When the footage started, you could see a ramp to the right of my Hummer that I actually drove up in the building that's on the right now, but obviously it's not connected. And you can tell this massive slab is movable. It's got the yellow and black tape on it. I rammed it and it did move, so it does, like, it is interactable or whatever. But yeah, I was kind of tracing backwards from the safe in the bird's eye view, and I kind of figured out that scrap that's blocking the first ramp going up is where I need to be. But it's really awkward getting, everything's like fenced off, so I ended up just sort of getting impatient and thinking, sod it, I'm just going to try and climb over all this rubble or whatever, and credit where it's due, the Hummer actually did it. There is, like, you can see a house at the top of the screen that's collapsed. I could probably have drove over there as well, but yeah, there was no real clear way in here. If I got those ramps, I could probably knock that massive slab down and connect it to the other building, and again, that'd be another way that should make a bridge that allows you to get into this intersection a little bit easier. There was scrap in the way, so I started, like, firing the winch out, pulled some of that out of the way, and yeah, we're finally onto the building section, which, again, I've managed to edit a bit out, but yeah, it took me a while to figure out. I thought it was pretty cool. There's like a gap in the stairs there, but there's a box there, so I fired the winch to it, Kind of figured that's what had happened, pulled it down, and it's patched up the gap between like the grey stairs and that red sort of ramp section, and you drive over the box up to here. I didn't even realise at this point I needed to. It was about now I did, but I just came up here since I'd moved the box. See that big slab with a yellow and black tape on again? Ram that, and that's gonna patch that bit of road up so I can now drive over. Again, you can see the safe sort of in the background. I was close. I nearly kind of fell off the edge. See how just nicer the game looks when it's sunny. Like, a lot of people are moaning about the rain, and I agree, but I don't hate it yet or anything. It's a shame because it's a waste of such a graphically vibrant game, and it spends most of the time pissing down the rain. Yeah, drive over that, go up this ramp, and there's the safe. So, since I mean, by the way, I kind of concluded it's going to be a lot easier to send the Hummer up here than the mule anyway. Tried to bump the safe in. Not only did I miss, but I managed to drive the Hummer off there and land it in the mule. So I suppose kind of got it half right, just the wrong thing went in. Yeah, that's what she said. I quit and reloaded, and I got pretty lucky on this one. I've just noticed there's like yellow things you'll probably be able to winch to on them concrete pillars. Yeah, when I reloaded it, it literally started me like 20 feet from the safe. So I thought, oh, that was pretty bloody handy. Couldn't have timed it better if I'd tried. Just adjusted the mule a bit, because the first time the safe dropped quite steeply and the mule was a bit too far away. This time, I don't know if I hit the safe better, but it probably would have gone in. But it bounced off the mule and fell onto the road. I was almost going to jump the Hummer off, but I thought, no, I'll leave it up there, because you never know. Later on, I might just be able to go back to the Hummer and kind of explore this construction zone a little bit more. Thankfully, I was able to reach the safe, though, with the mule from where I am. Get it packed in the sideboard. At first, as well, my anchors were kind of making me tip over. I just kept activating them and deactivating them until they kind of bumped into the wall enough to push me over. So, get that put in, get it strapped down. And then you see now, I've got to take it just north. It's pretty simple at this point. It's not like another maze or anything you've got to go through. Yeah, you can see the grass verge kind of meets back in with the road, which would have been far easier instead of the giant 10-minute lap I did trying to figure out how I'm supposed to get into that sort of intersection and start climbing up the building. I was tempted at this point as well. You see it says like route failed in the top left. I was nearly going to hit the button and I was like, no, don't scruffy up the footage while I need to. But yeah, you can see for the most part the roads are pretty chilled here, relatively speaking. There to the right is where I went off with my Hummer. That's where like the Hummer footage started. So this is just like, yeah, the next little thing ahead. There's nothing crazy about it. Come in here and drop safe off. What's it called again? Montyville. I think that's how you pronounce it. Oh, Montville, but whatever, I'm calling it Montyville. Should go in there. I probably could have just dropped it. Because it span around a bit, I got a bit like OCD about turning the cargo. Get it lined up right, and yeah, in the bag. Objective complete. Unlocked 4 more fuel, which is handy because I've only got 9 now at the minute. Kind of burnt a bit when I recalled all those vehicles to build the roads. And that's that one in the bag. I thought Kelly had pop up at some point, and yeah, didn't. Typical women. Can't live with them, can't live without them. Now she doesn't pop up, it's like, god damn it. Yeah, and that was the mission done. Just lastly, because I did the glitch video yesterday, the duplication glitch, I was trying to figure out how to duplicate the bowhead, and everywhere I was driving with a loaf, it was offering me the chance to spawn the bowhead. So I found somewhere where it said no free space to recover. I changed to the bowhead, went over to the garage, and it didn't work the first time. Panned the camera around, it's saying not enough room to spawn the bowhead. Went over to in garage, and it says no vehicle selected. It seems to be when that shows up, that kind of confirms that it's probably worked. Went back over to deployed, and I now have not 5, so I have 4 Aramatsu bowhead things. You can see in the list when I scroll down. That's my original one. And these are the 3. It's also where it spawned 3 of the Zik 605Es yesterday. And yeah, that's about it. So it seems to be, don't have enough room to spawn it, and then when you go over to garage, scroll through until you see no vehicle selected, which in theory there should be, because you're at the, if you're looking in your garage, you've got to have at least 1 vehicle in there, really. yeah, messing around, tried to drive up the trailer, rolled this, but it dumped its sand as I rolled, and it kind of helped flick me back over. And yeah, that was about it though. That was another one in the bag, and I'll get to exploring the caves and all that pretty soon, but I just wanted to explain that glitch at the end. But yeah, that's about it for today though. I hope you enjoyed, I hope that helps. Thanks for watching, get yourself a loaf because he's a beast, and I'll be back soon.